One of the biggest mistakes that people make on their healing and growth journey is treating every thought as something meaningful, or every trail of thought apparently needing your attention. But we got to remember that according to neuroscience, our brain's producing thousands and thousands of thoughts constantly. Our brain is self-generative. It's generating signals, electrical signals that are linked to the thoughts, and it creates predictions, interpretations, memories, fear narratives, or any other narratives, meaning making, self-criticism, all this. And that does not mean that those trail of thoughts are useful, truthful, and beneficial to you. And one of the biggest signs of actually emotional maturity and the maturity of your conscious brain is learning a distinction between which thoughts deserve reinforcement and which thoughts you should completely stop giving attention to. And what is really important as well is for you to understand that your brain is not only generating thoughts, yes, but it's also, in your brain, you also got 7 emotional systems. So as you will see, as you probably experienced throughout your adult life, a lot of the thoughts that you are having, or trail of thoughts or thought loops, are linked to also generating certain responses, emotional responses in your nervous system, because the brain then, through the emotional systems, the brain sends signals to the nervous system. And then the nervous system shuts down, frees, or stays open, whichever the trail of thought is and whichever the emotional circuit gets activated. So let's say if you are overthinking constantly and replaying maybe certain scenarios again and again and again, you are reinforcing that conscious trail of thought loop. That, and guys, you have to be very observant, that will generate certain emotional systems being activated in your body, in your nervous system. So you will feel fear and panic and grief, which then we can call, let's say, anxiety. I want that to really land for you. So you can see that you being an absolute bouncer of your conscious brain and how you are treating your thoughts and interpretations of life is extremely crucial in your healing process and in your growth process, because mature conscious mind selects, and it is selective. It's not gonna, go through rabbit holes because they found something on social media or they spoke. It's like a lot of you guys, and this is what I see, let's say, even like in content creation or, anything, it's like people have a thought and that thought is being shared, let's say, with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT turns that into some grand wisdom. This is you impulsively reacting to a thought because you heard something or you saw something and you feel, and your conscious brain feel instantly the need to check it. If you do that, you are impulsively reacting to the thoughts. And that is reinforcing the idea in your brain that basically you impulsively reacting, and you have to check every single thought that you have. So what happens, when people actually, are becoming passive towards their thinking and how their thinking is actually generated, then old loops repeat: self-criticizing, catastrophizing, victim identities, any type of narratives, interpretations, hopelessness, etc., etc. Because there will be many thoughts that are literally just the repetitions from the past, and they are not accurately reflecting the present reality, because you are still reading and interpreting and meaning making the situation that is a lot of the times very neutral through the lens of your past through those repetitive old overthinking, catastrophizing, victim identity loops. So practical examples I already gave you, like, almost like sharing every thought with ChatGPT, which now becomes almost like a phenomenon. And again, I want you to guys really become aware that the conversations that you're having with technology, especially AI, there are, new scientific research coming from, I think, Stanford University and MIT from March and April this year, showing that and proving that ChatGPT and any actually type of artificial intelligence can be really destructive for your mental health. And check that, because I read those papers and they are very interesting. So any thought, let's say, that you have, like, nobody cares about me, I am always failing, I'm always a loser, nothing ever changes. This is basically your brain sticking to the same repetition that just comes, familiarity, and it shows up in your behavior, in your actions, in your decision making. So familiarity of these old thoughts does not mean truth. It just means that this is how you're still interpreting life through that old lens. So, how you develop more strategic relationship with your mind? Well, you have to actually examine and investigate your thoughts. Is this thought that I am having now useful? Is this thought moving me towards growth and healing? Does this thought actually create a range and capacity in my nervous system? So let's say you started feeling something, and let's say that feeling is panic and grief because maybe, someone has passed in your life, they died or they walked away, and there's a situation that just reminds you of them. And you started feeling, like welled up, you start feeling, being really moved, and you're just like, okay, and now the thought, let's say the thought of, I need to check with chat, I need to call this, like, that is impulsive reaction. What is required from you in this situation is to stay in that grief. If you are in a meeting, go to the bathroom. You can excuse yourself and go to the bathroom and cry, or do something, that will allow that activation to complete its loop, and then you come back. Start treating the thoughts in a strategic, mature way. And it's like, does that thought create capacity? So instead of, reacting, you're just like, okay, no, the thought is actually, now I'm gonna go to the bathroom and create more capacity, more range in my nervous system, because each time you feel activation and it completes the loop in your body, that's how you create a range in your nervous system. So it's all about, discernment. And you have to really be conscious about what patterns you want your brain to be reinforced in your brain. Not every thought deserves your attention, and not every emotion also deserves your action, or maybe it deserves a different action. Like I said, in this particular case, of the example of, let's say, grief, and then, excusing yourself to the toilet or whatever. So discernment is huge. It will look different for every person, because activations, situations are different from, moment to moment and person to person. So you have to become very responsible for the discernment process and what sort of thinking patterns and thinking loops you want to reinforce, and what sort of loops you want to cut off. Because your brain generates many possibilities all the time, constantly, and healing is about knowing what to strengthen and knowing what to stop feeding. And that is, again, neuroscience. There's nothing mystical about what I'm saying. This is all based on science. So if you're struggling with repetitive loops, overthinking, any destructive thought patterns, and you would like to help with that, you can check my website. I'm a qualified trauma-informed therapist, so you can see how I work, and you can see, some information about me. You can see how to book sessions. the pricing, all is there. So you have all the information, very transparent, very easy to digest. Otherwise, like, share, and subscribe if that was actually helpful for you. And I'm going to see you in my next video. Bye bye.